Knowledge is love. Big E is in effect. E complete, and you know I spit correct. What do you know? I got a powerful guest, Stephanie Big Eagle. She's the best. Don't you understand? The dancer you see, the activist, fashion model, all that be the Pisces sun and the Capricorn moon. Well, I'm a Virgo and Capricorn moon too, yo. So what do you know? We're gonna break it down, getting real deep. What's the sound? Yeah, tonight it's knowledge is love. 289, we're soaring like a dove. We're going to learn about some stuff tonight and the prophecy of white buffalo. All right, so sit back, relax, and give us your ear. Because what we got, something is deep for you, my dear. And listen up, fellas, I want you to see it's time to start the show. And I am Big E. Ooh, ooh! What's up, y'all? It's Eric Taylor, Big E Astrology. We got to start off with some fun for my special guest. Let me just turn off the phone so nobody interrupts us. And tonight, I have on my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast, episode 289. She is, oh my gosh, an author, an activist, an NDE survivor, a traditional tattoo artist, and she's a part of the Dakota Lakota Tribe. I welcome to the show Miss Stephanie Big Eagle. How are you tonight, my friend?
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing great tonight. It's awesome to be on your show, and thank you for that amazing flow.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm an MC, like 2 albums, 4 mixtapes, incomplete, and I like to start off the show because hey, I'm a New York City kid. I am hip hop, like Harris once said, and I love it. And I love sharing that with my audience in the start of the show. But I'm so fascinated to learn everything about you and all that you do. So, can you just start us off and really kind of teach for a second? Um, what is and who are the Dakota Lakota tribe and all the affiliations that we may not really truly understand?
Okay. Well, we are overall the Ochedi Shakoin, which is the 7 council fires of the Great Sioux Nation.
Mm,
And we don't call ourselves Sioux. That was the name that the government gave us. But there are 7 council fires. And within that, there are 3 overall bands that are separated by, or defined by, I should say, more of the Western, Central, and Eastern locations of our ancestral territory. So we are the Indigenous people of currently the Great Plains region. So our ancestral territory is defined by the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, included portions of South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and Nebraska. Now,
mm,
ancestrally, we traveled coast to coast, up, down, coast to coast
yeah.
was our ancestral homelands because we followed the buffalo. So the
Mm,
buffalo are very closely interwoven into our culture.
okay. Now, let me just ask you because I don't know, and the audience may not know. And hello to everyone in the chat. We will get to you guys shortly and get to Stephanie's amazing astrology, which you may have picked up part of the freestyle intro a little bit. But the white buffalo, are there other tribes, maybe more southern or east coast, like Seminole or Hopi or Navajo, that are connected to the buffalo or the white buffalo as well,
Mhm.
where they honor it?
Yes, I am. I can't speak for their connection to the white buffalo,
Okay.
but because that was a prophecy that was brought to our people. So I
Mm,
can't speak to other tribes' connection to that, but I know that there are other tribes within the Plains region up into Canada, even down into New Mexico areas, and that were also very closely connected to the buffalo as a food source, as all around clothing, oils,
yeah.
food, like I said, an incredibly important source of sustenance to not only my people, but many other tribes that the
Wow.
buffalo was connected to.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's so fascinating. I think of, a lot of us know about bison meat. But what other things, like you said, in terms of oils and things, because I really don't know, what else did your tribe use or still may use the buffalo for?
Well, the buffalo was an integral part of our ceremony. So, at the center of a lot of our ceremonies, I will say for the Anipi, which is otherwise known as the sweat lodge ceremony,
Ah,
there's a skull that sits at the center of the altar for that. So, the buffalo is used as just an example. We would also use the buffalo horn to dip in the water within that ceremony. The buffalo, every single part of the buffalo was used.
okay.
And whether it be for food within ceremony, within to make, for example, dresses or moccasins, or
Yeah.
the hide for drums, for ceremonial objects, for um, also it could be woven together to make a teepee canvas.
Oh, wow.
It
Okay.
would take a lot of hides of a
Right.
buffalo to make a teepee canvas. So, they would also take the bladder of the buffalo and use it to store water, so there was
Wow.
it's amazing how much of the buffalo was used and how important it was to us.
Gosh, that's fascinating, and I'm sure something for everyone in the chat and the audience to really learn and to get that wisdom from you to integrate that to the appreciation. Now, we talked about that, but I want to find out from you specifically because I've never heard about this, and I saw you on Instagram mention it one time, and I thought it was fascinating. And you guys, she is a great follow on social media. She'll share all her stuff later. But Stephanie Big Eagle on Instagram, you don't want to miss that. But what is, and I'm going to let you share. I just got to turn off something real quick. But what is the prophecy of the white buffalo?
Okay. Well, I will start with the story, and I'm over here at the chat. Hello to everybody in the chat. Hello to everybody who might be on my platforms that this is streaming to on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Hello to all of you out there.
Yes.
And so, to for those who aren't familiar with the white buffalo calf story, and those who are, I want to share my teachings, what was shared with me about
Mm,
this story, and why it's so important to me and to all of us. It is not just a teaching that is relevant only to me and to my people. It's relevant to all of us, especially in the tumultuous, chaotic, and confusing times that we are in right now.
definitely. Definitely.
So, 19 generations ago, there were two warriors from my people, ancestral people, that were out in the fields hunting. And it was a tough time for our people back then. The food was a little bit scarce and things were were challenging for our people. And so these two warriors, there was a woman, a spirit woman, and when I connect the dots to where we are in our world today, and as our understanding of things is expanding, and when I connect the dots with our star knowledge keepers from my nation, I say that she is a star being. She was a
Mm,
visitor that came to us from the stars.
okay.
And so she appeared in the field to these two warriors. And one warrior saw her right away for her being, her sacredness, her sacred nature, and immediately respected her for that and honored her for that,
Mm,
and wanted to protect her. The other hunter did not see her for that,
oh.
and he wanted to take advantage of her and assault her and take what he could from her for himself. And so these hunters represent the duality that exists within all of us. So
Yeah.
what was going on inside of them in their hearts was reflected in how they perceived this sacred spirit being that appeared before them. And so the warrior who saw her in a way that he wanted to take from her approached her in that way. And with the power that she held, she turned him, and there's different teaching on this, but the way I was told is that she turned him into dust and she sent him back.
I love that.
So the teaching right there, and she said, it is not for you to take from any other being and what you're lacking in yourself to try to fill the hole or the void that exists within you. And so that was the very first teaching that she brought. So she told the other warrior to go and tell the people to prepare for her arrival. And so a little while later, she came to the people and she came singing, and she was carrying a bundle. And so she went into the gathering lodge and she brought these medicines, these songs, these teachings to the people. And the most important part of that bundle was the chanupa, or the pipe, the prayer pipe.
Okay.
And it's a long pipe, the stem, a wooden stem connected to a bowl that is pipe stone, that is a red stone where we make our pipes out of. And she taught us the teachings of this pipe and how these, and from the teachings came the 7 sacred ceremonies that we practice to this day.
Okay.
And I already shared with you about the Inipi, the sweat lodge ceremony.
Right.
We have 7 total sacred ceremonies that we still practice to this day. And I do believe that these ceremonies were given to us to help us to get through the times that were coming,
Okay.
the challenging times, and that we were to be the keepers, the holders of these ceremonies, even though our elders, some of our ancestors had to go underground with it because it was illegal for us to practice our ceremonies and our traditional way of life.
Right.
And so the prophecy that she left with us, besides these teachings and these ceremonies and this pipe, was that there would come a time when we would need her again. And that, so there's the, she rolled over as she was, after she left these teachings, she left the TP, she rolled over, she became, and I get this part mixed up a little bit, but
That's all right.
she rolled over, she became a black buffalo. She rolled over again, became a brown buffalo, rolled over again, became a red one. But to me, the most important part of that was when she rolled over again and became the white buffalo calf. And when she became that white, with that white buffalo calf, she said, "You will know that I will be returning again when you see the appearance of the white buffalo." And so 19 generations ago is when she came and brought that teaching to our people. The first white buffalo in recorded history to ever appear was in 1935.
Wow.
And then again in 1994 with the birth of Miracle, the white buffalo calf Miracle. And since then, there have been multiple births of white buffalo calf that just seem to be increasing and increasing in numbers.
Yeah.
And so we know now that we are in these times when there are going to be these returnings of these sacred beings to us. And to us, that's the white buffalo calf woman. And we already know of the power that she holds and the teachings that she brings. And when she comes again, it's going to be to bring new teachings, to bring new ceremonies, to bring new ways of life. And so it's both a warning and a symbol of hope with the white buffalo that we see, that we have these 2 choices that we can make as humanity.
Right.
And those choices are the path of destruction or the path of returning to living in balance with the earth.
Yeah.
And so our people have, we say, "Mitakuya," and that means it's honoring all our relations. So it's honoring our connection to all other things in this earth and in this universe, that nothing is above or below anything else, but we are all intricately connected.
That's
And we
right.
need to honor that connection and that balance. And so that's the choice. We see what the leaders are trying to, what path they're choosing, which is destruction.
Yeah.
But we need to hold tight to the other path, because these sacred beings are going to be returning and these prophecies are being fulfilled as we speak.
You know, wow. That was beautiful. And you said so much. And, my brain is just spinning because I've got like 3 trillion questions, and we will get you guys in the chat shortly. Let me start off by saying, thank you to everybody watching. Please make sure you guys like this episode. And we want to share it because we want people to hear all that Stephanie is sharing in this episode. So please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And thank you. Stephanie is an amazing Pisces. We both share the Capricorn moon together, and she is a Libra rising. And Libra is about harmony and peace. And I sense that from you in every way, in every action and interaction we've had together in communicating and speaking. And also, it's about making things aesthetically beautiful. So I want you to share. I'm going to kind of get back to my thoughts about the traditions and when you guys do the ceremonies. But I want you to share about your traditional tattoo artistry, how you do it. And then, did you do your own tattoos, or did someone else do them for you specifically on the face? And if you don't mind, do you have other tattoos besides that, on arms or other places as well? And can you give us insight on those?
Sure. I just want to give a quick shout out to the chat right here on
Yep.
YouTube. Hey, brother Jesse. Hey, Mark,
Yep.
Alana,
Welcome again.
Francois, Venus. Hey, welcome everyone. Metaphysical Ash. Appreciate all of you guys being in here tonight.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I am a traditional handpoke tattoo artist.
Okay.
And it is not something that I ever said to myself that I'm going to be. I didn't say I want to.
It
I want to
called
do
you?
this. It called me. It sure
Amen.
did.
I love it.
And but it's woven in with my chin and my forehead tattoo.
Yeah.
And so I just, how Facebook has the memories that come up. And,
Yeah.
I just had one that came up from 11 years ago.
Wow.
11 years ago, I was asking my Facebook connections if anyone knew about our traditional tattoo history for the Lakota and Dakota
Okay.
and the Iroquois, because my mother always, when we were growing up, she always told us that we were of the Iroquois. And, she didn't know anything about it, but the proper term for it, Haudenosaunee, but the Haudenosaunee people. But she couldn't teach us anything about it, and so I really have been able to connect with my Lakota and Dakota side. So 11 years ago, I was asking my community, does anybody know about our traditional markings? And I said in the comments, I said, I'm willing to be the blueprint for a revitalization of that.
Okay.
And so it was a good, full circle sort of memory to come up and to remind me of this path, because it was always, maybe not always, but within the last 10 to 15 years, it was something that I felt such a strong pull towards, was the traditional tattoos.
Right.
And within a lot of our people, there has, and tribes and indigenous people here in the Americas, North America in particular, there was an attack on our traditional tattooing. And this was part of the genocide, the cultural genocide, is that, the whole reversal of the idea of tattoos, and that
It's okay.
turning it into something that's not good, that's taboo, that is bad, even, that is a symbol of being connected with, we'll just be straight up here,
Yeah.
demons, demonic, satanic, and so these really ugly connections being made to something that actually has a very rich, diverse, and beautiful history across many indigenous nations around the world.
Mm.
And so now we're seeing an intense revitalization of these practices amongst many indigenous nations around the world, including the Lakota and the Dakota. And there's still many people within my nations who do not agree that we had these traditions, and that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. So I can only speak
Family's gonna have
for,
disagreements and argue sometimes.
of course.
It's all right.
So I am speaking for the elders who taught me, and from the history that I've been able to uncover in this world. And so I had and I still do have a very close connection with there with a Maori man from New Zealand.
Mm.
And so he is a spiritual practitioner and a cultural practitioner for his people in the Indigenous people of New Zealand.
Yeah.
And so he and I were kind of rocks for each other when we were both going through a very challenging time. And at the same time that I was starting to become interested in traditional tattooing.
Okay.
And so through our connection, I was invited to come over to New Zealand
Oh,
and very strongly encouraged by him to receive my tattoos,
mm.
my chin and my forehead. And I said to him, I have to make sure that this is something that exists within my culture in the first place.
Were you hesitant at first, though?
Oh God, he almost dragged me in to get it done. We'll say,
Wow.
we just got to say that. Yes.
Okay, because
He dragged
I
me
only
in
have
to get
one
it done.
tattoo, Stephanie, and when I see that, I'm like, "Wow, it's so beautiful," but I'm just like, "Ooh, that looks like it could hurt, though."
Oh, I mean, it hurt more with the amount of overwhelming judgment,
Mm.
from not only non-indigenous people, but indigenous people as well.
Okay.
It's an extremely difficult path to walk
Yeah.
as it was for me, and
It's a huge
I'm
statement. It's
honored.
a huge statement, and I commend you
Mm,
for it. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I am honored to say that I've been able to help make the path easier
Mm.
because I took the brunt of a lot of that and still held my head up strong.
Yeah.
And so in the course of that time, it was 8 years ago that I received my markings from a Tamoko practitioner, which is the tattooist, the traditional indigenous tattooists of New Zealand, the Maori
Oh,
people.
wow. Okay.
And so in their way of doing it, it's not Tamoko, which is reserved specifically for the indigenous people of New Zealand.
Mm.
It was created especially for me,
Oh, wow.
taking into account my visions, my dream, my history, and my people, where I'm from.
Okay.
So there's nobody who has markings like this.
Well,
Although there
that's
might be
what
similar placements, there's nobody who has like
So
what
in
I
your
have.
immediate so I
Mhm.
gotta ask you this because that's really fascinating. That's what I wanted to get to. In your immediate family, though, through mom, dad, and grandparents and so on, do any of them have any face tattoos?
No, not that I know of.
Okay, okay.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of members of my family who have already passed on.
Right,
The life expectancy for our people is not very long.
right.
And so it's,
Can I
you
ask
know,
you, is it increasing though? Is it getting a little bit better?
in terms of life
Yes,
expectancy,
yes.
no, not yet.
You're gonna make it better, Stephanie. You are the one because you are a star seed. I've seen your birth chart. You know this, and I want you to talk about the star beings because I've seen UFOs. Many people on my channel have, and different things. Right now, the veil is super thin. We're having these X class and M class solar flares. We had the most ever in recorded science. It's science, y'all. It's scientific history in 2024, and the veil is super thin, so we're seeing fairies and shadows and beings.
Mhm.
And so you had an experience. Can you share that with the audience with in terms of you actually seeing an alien or star being, how you would call it?
Yes. And so I have had the experience that I had. I have many profound dreams. And I do believe that it is easier for us to communicate with Wichakpi Oyate, as we call that, the star beings in our dreams, because we are more receptive to these other beings. Because when we are dreaming, when we are astral traveling, our vibration is naturally higher and more in alignment with these other beings who come to
Okay.
visit us.
Yeah.
And so for in our culture, dreams are not just dreams.
Mhm.
They're interactions, they're visits, they're travels. Take your dreams very seriously.
It's the return
And
home when we
oh
dream.
yes, it's a dream, it's a return home, but it's also you're visiting other realms, and there's many other realms.
And
So
dimensions.
you're
Yeah,
not always visiting home, because sometimes you're visiting lower realms too.
that's true.
So but sometimes when you are returning home, you will know it, you will feel it. When
Yeah.
you're having dreams that tell you who you are and help you open up your consciousness, these are visits from or downloads too that you're receiving to help you elevate and to help you become into your highest self. And so I have had interactions with star beings in my dreams, and
Okay.
these were always very beautiful.
Right.
But the one that I had in this reality and, was very terrifying.
Oh, wow.
And this was in 2014. And at the time, I was dancing with an Azteca danza group. So this is the indigenous form of dance from Mexico
Mm,
and those areas.
okay.
Very beautiful, very profound.
Yeah.
And so this is why I always speak up for our indigenous brothers and sisters down there,
Yeah.
because it's a very, very beautiful culture that they
Well,
have.
we
So
gotta do it worldwide. We gotta
mhm.
stand up and unite, you know what I
Yes.
mean? I mean, this is the time. We have to
Yes.
not just find our tribes, but tribes and indigenous cultures need to come together, get re-educated, kind of have a remembering of who we really are and how we are connected to this land, which has been lied to us about forever. The
Yes.
truth of, how this who was all here and all of it. So I think that what you're saying is so beautiful, and it's apropos for this time.
Yes. So with that visit that I had,
I hope you weren't too
so
scared. I hope you weren't too scared.
oh, I was terrified. And I really like to share that, because I want people to know when they see these otherworldly beings, it's okay if you're scared.
Yeah.
All right. I was scared. It's terrifying when you come across a being like that. And I'm going to share the story. So we had just finished this ceremonial dance, and we were on the Buena Miwok Vista Indian Reservation in California.
Okay.
So, which is Northern California, it's central, northern, kind of in between there in California.
Okay.
And we had just finished the ceremony. It was at night, and I had parked out in a field by myself, because I had planned to car camp there overnight to sleep there. I had my son with me at the time. He was probably about 4 years old back
Oh,
then, maybe three. Oh, maybe even younger,
wow. Yeah.
time. But so I packed him into the car and put him to sleep. And then I was changing out of my regalia. So my regalia is what I was wearing to dance in. I had a crown of feathers and my traje, as they call it. So I
Traje.
was
Traje.
traje.
Okay. Traje.
Yes. I was changing out of that. And I got this really, really intense feeling that I was being watched.
Mm,
And so I looked up and I saw this being standing maybe 10 to 15 feet away from me, just staring at me.
wow.
And was frozen. I could feel his vibrations so strongly, his energy so
How were the
strongly.
eyes? What were did you see the eyes?
I don't remember that. I can't remember if they were, I just remember that it was looking at me. And
Mm,
I remember the way I felt, and then the energy that it had was so powerful that it was like I was in a paralysis. I couldn't move. And I was so scared. I don't know if that being put me in a paralysis, because I know some of them have the ability to do that. or if it was my own fear. And so we just locked eyes and stared at each other. And it was maybe about this tall.
Mm.
So it was not short, and but it was about that tall. And it was blacker than the darkness, than the night. So it was standing out from the night, if that makes
Wow.
sense.
Yes, it totally does. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had a friend with me, and he was from Pine Ridge Reservation, which is the Oglala Lakota Nation.
Okay.
He was walking out at about that time, and there was like a little hill and then a dip, and that's where I was, and me and this being in my car. And so he came up over the hill right about then, and he saw me and that being. So here's me and the being over here, and here's him coming down that hill. He sees that being and he goes, "Hey," and he starts chasing it.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so that being took off running. And when it started running, it was like I have some videos of this, but I saw this video of a bat walking on its wings. And that's how this being took off running. I
Really?
had never seen anything move like that before. That
Was it
scared me
was
even
it
more.
2 legs, 4 legs? Do you remember anything
It
like
was
that?
bipedal, so it was humanoid
Okay.
when it was standing up looking at, but when it took off running, it was like an animal, but unlike any sort of animal movement that I had ever seen before. So if you can look up a video of a bat walking on its wings, that's what but this thing was running like that. So he chased it, until it ran off into the tree line, and then it disappeared into the woods. And so he came back around and he told me that that was a wiwila, which
Really?
our people is our name for the little people.
Ah.
And I'm still confused on that, because in my mind's eye, I see little people as little people
Right, right.
when it was this tall. So, but that's what he told me that it was. But even that teaching is important, because the Wiwila is said to be a people or otherworldly beings that their star or their sun died on their home planet. So they
Mm.
came to Earth and made their home here. And their time to come out is at night, and ours is in the day. So usually we don't interact like that. But this being sure as heck wanted me to know
Wow.
that it was there and that it was watching me. And so he said that he chased it off because sometimes these beings take us. And I don't
Really?
know what happens when they take us. I can't answer that question, but he
No.
said that's why he chased it like that. So
So did he that's really fascinating and deep, and so I wanna ask you about that in a quick second, though, because did he say that he had seen beings like this prior to this evening?
Yeah, he knew what it was.
Oh, he knew exactly,
Yeah,
okay.
and on the reservation like that, out in Pine, there's a lot of stories of these beings. There's a lot of a common understanding of
Okay,
what these beings are.
okay.
Mhm.
So can I just connect that astrologically for everybody in the audience? This is heavy. So Stephanie has Uranus and Neptune in the 3rd house in the, kind of like in the local community. Obviously, it's not local to where you were born, but where you're at, local community. And Uranus is otherworldly, right? Getting these downloads, but can be beings and consciousness from up above, right? And Neptune makes the veil thin. It's nebulous, it's illusion, confusion, deception. But Neptune is about our spirituality. So in one way, this shows all that you do, and we'll get into some of your activism in a second, but all that you do in terms of sharing your truth and everything in an innovative, futuristic, spiritual way over social media, which is the 3rd house. But it also can explain you seeing literally beings like this, and that may in some ways transform or change your communication, your language, your even beliefs and philosophies. So that is kind of Uranus, Neptune, and Sagittarius third house. Now, not every Libra rising will experience this, you guys. This is more unique to Stephanie's chart, but I
Mm.
think that's so fascinating. So can you, because this is pretty big for you, right? In what ways and how? I mean, obviously honoring your culture and the traditional tattoos, but share beyond that for the audience that may not know, in what ways and how do you use or share your activism, and where do you do it?
So my activism is something that I used to really do a lot more in person. So, for example, I was at the Standing Rock protests. They call it, some people call it protests, so water protector movement.
Uh-huh.
For me, it was an act of resistance to the continued genocide of our people
Yeah,
and the continued theft of our land and the continued, just the government just doing whatever it wants to Indigenous people.
yeah,
And this attitude of we can just take whatever we want from the Indigenous people, we can take whatever we want from the land,
yeah,
and there's nothing anybody can do to stop us.
yeah.
Well, Standing Rock was a huge example of actually there is something we can do to stop you. And that's when we stand in numbers. And let's face it, I mean, Facebook Live was a big part of that.
Wow,
So to people who, want to talk about social media, want to just focus on the negatives of social media, I really want to focus on the positives of that
that's
right
right.
now, because these outlets, these apps, these give us huge opportunities to reach the world and to share our issues. And
And
so
our
back
truth.
then,
And our truth,
exactly,
yeah.
and events that you otherwise would know nothing about. If it wasn't for Facebook Live at that time, I don't think we would have had the success. It
Wow.
would just be another example of another indigenous issue getting swept under the rug.
And what year was that again? And when and
2016 and
where was
17.
this at?
This was at the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in North Dakota.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
So we were protecting our water source. And so
Mm,
they wanted to put the Dakota Access Pipeline under the lake,
yeah.
the water source out there, which connected to probably getting. Uh, I have some memory issues. I'm sorry. So
That's
I think it was the Missouri River. If anyone in the comments can correct me on that, if I'm
okay.
incorrect or confirm,
But
but
it's
it, but
natural water and it's
but
natural
yeah, well,
spring water,
yes,
right?
the point is that it connected to a water source that was a source of drinking water for the reservation and
Yeah.
for it would have affected millions of people when there's leaks, which it's not a matter of if it's going to leak, it's a matter of
When.
when. And there's already been leaks. All of these oil pipelines are problematic,
Yeah.
every single one, and they cause huge chaos and destruction, and it's not only to the water sources but it's to the surrounding environments and the ecosystems.
Yeah.
And so it's not just about us going there and standing up, because you're going to take our water away from us. It's about, you're hurting and harming the earth,
Yeah.
and you're hurting and harming entire ecosystems, and you
Yeah.
have zero regard
Disrupting the
for it.
harmony of the whole entire ecosystem. It's disgusting. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And so that is my form of preferred activism.
I love
And
it.
also you could say that my tattoos is also another form of
Oh
activism.
yeah.
So it's me simply being myself, sharing my voice, speaking up, standing up in any way possible is a form of resistance. My existence is my resistance.
Thank you for saying that. Listen, you see this activism, right? I was at the Free Mumia March in Philadelphia for the Black Panther that was wrongly arrested, and they were trying to, unalive him with, the death penalty and stuff like that. I was at the Millionaire March, So I tell these young kids, it's your turn. The
Mm.
millennials, the Pluto Scorpios, right? You're Pluto Libra, I'm Pluto Virgo. These Pluto Scorpios with Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius the next 20 years, it's their turn. Step up, step out, and let's do it, because
'Cause we're
now
tired.
I know we're tired. Thank you, Stephanie. I know we're tired and we're trying to just, kind of chill, but we're still gonna speak up but we might not always show up, but we're going to speak up, definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, let me say, Alana, thank you for putting that in the comments. She says the pipeline crosses under the Missouri and Mississippi rivers and Lake Oahe, which runs within a half-mile of the current boundaries of the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation through land taken. Yes. So this was land that was once again
Wow.
seized, so
Oh, my amazing wife. Yeah,
thank
uh,
you,
she-
Alana.
she's a Pisces just like you. And see, and
Mhm.
that's the thing that people have to really understand is that our activism, it's 24/7, 365.
Mhm.
And so that's what I want people to get, because we're at our time right now, Stephanie, as you know, where there is so much change, but so much chaos and confusion, and truth on top of lie on top of truth on top of lie, and trying to divide us. But us, the people, the humanity, the star seeds, all of it, we've got to come together to unite, to share on these platforms, to take advantage, just like we saw a lot of the real reporting through TikTok in Gaza and Palestine, in the Congo, in Syria, in Iran, right? All these places, like, so it is global, it is international, and we are the boots on the ground. So we
Mhm.
cannot be silent and we cannot stop. We have got to speak truth to power. So I thank you and I applaud you for doing that every day, because that's what our souls have chosen to be at this time, right? We're
Yes.
not supposed to play small, Stephanie, and you are
Mhm.
definitely not, my friend. And I applaud you and I love it. So I want you to share with the audience, though, because you are also a fashion model and a dancer. So share those experiences, and where could people see you or experience you doing both of those things?
Okay. Well, I don't model as much anymore. It's
Okay.
more I work with what I really love to do is collaborate with photographers.
Okay.
And so I love to do photo shoots. The last photo shoot I did was in New Mexico, and I modeled
Mhm.
for the couture designer of angel wings.
Oh, wow.
The original couture designer of angel wings. And if you don't know what that term, I'm probably saying it wrong, a little bit wrong.
That's all right.
Couture.
Yeah, couture. Couture.
Couture means it's handmade. All the materials, it's made from scratch. So, and with high quality materials.
Oh, yeah.
And so she was the original one who started making angel wings in that way. So the last photo shoot I did was with her and her angel wings.
Wow.
And, before that, I modeled in Paris for Paris Fashion Week for several Indigenous designers. And
Mm.
I also modeled for New York Fashion Week
Oh,
for
cool.
her name is Darlene Perkins, and Red Lightning Couture is her label. And please, if you want to look her up, she has some amazing. So she's also a couture designer, but she uses materials that are traditional materials from her nation. So she is Lakota and Arikara. And so one
Wow.
of the things that I modeled for her was a horse hair skirt. It
Wow.
was so beautiful, completely
Okay.
made out of horsehair, hand stitched, made with sinew and traditional buckskin materials, and oh my goodness, it was so beautiful. So
Wow.
I
Look at
love
you.
to
Okay.
work Yes, I love to work with designers, indigenous designers that are couture designers, which means they're using their materials, from their traditional culture.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
my
beautiful in
preferred.
itself
Yes.
right there too.
Yes.
It's funny that you say that, because my wife had managed the couture salon in Saks Fifth Avenue for a few years in San Francisco. So I know
Nice.
she's in the chat, probably loving hearing you talking about this right now. That's awesome. Wow.
Yep, so couture is my thing. I tend to, otherwise, I'm not gonna be in that world because I don't want to a lot of times it's problematic if
Yeah,
you're, sourcing cheap materials from and then just putting indigenous prints on 'em.
I know. I know.
I don't like that very much, so I'm not gonna work with that, but, I forgot the other question you
The
asked me.
dancing.
The dancing,
Bailando,
yes.
baby.
So I am a dancer, I guess, you could call it, freestyle. So I love to just express myself through movement. But as related to my culture,
Yeah.
I am a fancy shawl dancer, which is
Fancy shawl dancer. Okay.
we have these long, beautiful arm length
Okay.
shawls
Yeah.
that are go down to about our thighs, maybe a little bit lower. And you know that we emulate the butterfly, and some emulate the hummingbird when
Mm,
we dance. So it's a dance of high agility that we maintain the grace and beauty throughout that dance to exemplify, you know, feminine agility and the graceful movements that come of the butterfly. So representing that freedom of movement and the
yeah.
agility and the beauty that comes with that.
I
But
love
I'm also a dancer of, I really love to express myself through the songs that come
mm,
on. So I've had dreams of dancing. I've had dreams of sitting in like the middle of a, let's say like I'm down in the bottom of like this training center,
okay.
and I'd look up and I'd see this huge circle of my, let's say, elders or mentors sitting above me and in seats above me like a balcony. And they were instructing me how to transform my reality
Oh,
through the movements that they were showing me to make in my dance.
I love that. I love that. Okay, wait.
Mhm.
So, okay, couple things. Um, that is so much your Pisces sun in the sixth house, service to humanity, your work and daily routine, and Pisces rules the feet. So, yeah, you got happy, beautiful feet dancing and moving, shaking and grooving, right? We see that also with the Uranus, Neptune, and Sagittarius, because Sagittarius, Stephanie, rules the hips and thighs.
Ooh, okay.
So you are that innovative, futuristic, spiritual, mover and dancer. So as you describe it, I can literally kind of astral travel and visualize it through the natal birth chart. And I love sharing that and teaching that with the audience. I want to get back to the chat. I know some people have some questions, you guys. If you have specific questions for Stephanie, please ask them. But right now, I want you to share some of your mentorship work and where people can reach you, email or booking things, and your website and all your information. So please share that with the
Okay.
audience. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you wanna get in touch with me and book anything that I do or have me speak at events or, work with, say, if you're a designer or a photographer and you wanna work with me, you can get in touch with me through my website, which is www.stephbigeagle.com. I also offer mentorships, which
Mm,
I have a mentorship, a 6 series mentorship that has already been recorded, already happened. If I'm getting a little busy, so I don't necessarily have the time for one-on-ones anymore, but I
right.
do have a pre-recorded course, which delves into how do we become our authentic selves? How do we heal? How do we prepare for the times that are coming? And this is me speaking from my real life experience
Hmm.
of overcoming like a dark horse despite the darkness that I was born into.
Yes. I love
So,
it.
yeah, all of that can be accessed through my website, and also if you want to ask about getting a traditional tattoo.
Oh, yeah. Now, where do you do the tattoos at? Like, where would they have to go to South Dakota or do you?
Yes, currently they would.
Okay.
So that might change in the near future.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I can sense that and imagine that as well. All right. So let's see a couple of questions and who's in the chat. What are you seeing?
Well, what I see, hey Mark, again, what's up? Jagger Art. I know you said earlier, can I use existence is my resistance? Yes. Osawi, what's up? And Kevin, how you doing? Osawi says you want a tattoo. Yes. And hit me up. Let's see what's happening.
All right.
So, Alana, we have to break generational curses. Yes, we absolutely do. And
Yeah.
a huge focus of what I share in my mentorships. I also have a book. It's called Thunderbird Rising.
Oh, yeah, I
It's
was gonna get to that author. Yeah, when I see
Yes. So my life is about breaking these generational curses within my family and
that's so beautiful.
repairing the intergenerational trauma.
Yes,
So I do want to share that it is my philosophy that what we do right now to heal ourselves within ourselves affects 7 generations before us and 7 generations after us.
thank you. Yes, it does.
So it's
Because
very
the
important for us to
DNA
do our healing
has
work.
memory, Stephanie.
Mhm. What's that?
The DNA has memory.
Yes,
So
it
yes,
does.
it is 7 before and 7 after, and that is a big life calling for you because of your Pluto, Saturn, Mars, and Libra on the ascendant. And we both share not only the Capricorn moon, but the Jupiter and Scorpio. You and I, we are true speakers and true seekers.
Mm,
The second house is your speech. Jupiter, Scorpio, we have to investigate and share our wisdom, beliefs, and philosophies about all the hidden lies and secrets of this world. And it's our
mhm.
jobs to communicate about it and then to transmute it and transform and heal. So, yes, I live that life every day about breaking generational curses, and it's so beautiful how you do it. So, I want you to share a little bit more about your book, and then me and you got something else in common. We're both near death experience survivors.
Oh,
So, share about the book, and then I want to hear about one or two of your NDEs and all that stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my book is called Thunderbird Rising, and it's a memoir of reconnection, resilience, and empowerment.
Mm.
And it was actually, I was spurred into writing it when I lost a friend of mine back in 2019 that took his own life.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mm.
And well, this is a common issue within Indigenous communities,
Yeah.
and especially on the reservations. And the friend who it took his life was in New Zealand,
Oh,
and so he was Indigenous. He's Maori, and so but what hit so hard was that he was a healer for his people. He was someone who was very focused on mental health, and he also held courses and things like that. So
ah,
when he was hit that hard that he fell into that,
yeah,
it really hurt me.
I know.
And so it caused me to spiral. And I was, in a very negative loop. And it was very hard for me to get out of that.
Right.
And so I prayed so much to get out of that. And I was asking him, how do I help you? Because I wish you had reached out to me.
Yeah.
But in those moments of whatever you were going through, you couldn't and you didn't. So what can I do to help you now
Yeah.
as on your journey? What can I do to honor your life? And this is me speaking to all the people that I know who have been in those places of darkness and didn't know how to get out, didn't know how to escape, felt so down and out. And I've been there so many times myself too. What can I do to honor you, my brother?
Mm.
And so I got the message that I needed to write a book. I
Wow.
needed to share my story. And so I poured myself into for a year sharing the chaos and the confusion and the trauma and the suffering and all the pain that was my childhood, that was my early adult life, that was into just, I released the book in early 2020. So my whole life has been a roller coaster merry-go-round of dealing with
Mm.
psychopaths and narcissists, with in the form my parents, dealing with extreme abuse.
Yeah.
And so my childhood was, I wouldn't wish it on anybody,
Right.
but it gave me a story of survival and resilience
Yes.
that I do believe can help a lot of people who
Definitely.
are experiencing their own hardships. And even if they don't, that you haven't, there are still things that you can learn from it, because who knows about the profound, the our the importance of dreams,
Yeah.
the importance of our connection to the other world, the importance of all of these teachings and ways of being that we've all been brainwashed about.
That's right.
Yeah. So I get to share those things in my book. And
I
yeah.
love that. And oh my gosh, this is so deep. So during that time, in your ninth house of publishing, where you have Gemini, the North Node was there. So you were destined to write that, have that. You
Yeah.
started writing it before, but when you published it, the North Node was in Gemini between 20 and 2021 for that 18 months, and that is when you released the book.
Man, that's
Isn't that
cool.
incredible?
See, I wanted to
And
do this
we didn't talk
podcast with
about this
you
before the
because
show, you guys, just so you know.
yeah, no, we didn't.
That's the data going off in the computer here.
Yeah, I really do believe in the effect of the stars and the planets on
Yes,
us.
it's
It's
all
mhm,
in perfect harmony. And
mhm.
that's what I try to let people know, right? This ancient wisdom and the occult knowledge and sciences is coming back to awaken us and to help us. It is not a sin. It's in the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, and I'm sure it's in all indigenous cultures in different versions, from Kemet to Atlantis to the indigenous in the Americas and the South Americas, all over. And so this is so beautiful because when we connect to it, it's like opening up stargates in our own lives. The birth chart is the map of your life, Stephanie, and the remembrance of your soul. So you did choose this tough childhood. You chose these parents because you were here and you were built for this, to break these generational curses and then to be the mentor and the living activist to help awaken and enlighten and inspire all the others in the collective. So
Oh,
it's
yeah, I wanna, Shell Star says 13 moons. She also asks tropical astrology or sidereal?
okay. So I am a Western tropical astrologer that uses the whole sign system, which is more ancient and more accurate. And I use principles of the Vedic and also evolutionary astrology. I am all about the truth. Like I said with Stephanie, Jupiter, Scorpio, Capricorn moon. I'm the Virgo, but I'm a Scorpio rising. So you know what I'm here to do. So I want to share, I want us, we both had NDEs, but this is about you tonight. Please share whatever you feel comfortable sharing about your near death experience or experiences.
So, um, I've had many experiences of, it's miraculous that I'm still here.
I know.
And I guess the one that I will share is about, was it 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I had my Hamdecha ceremony, which is a vision quest.
Mhm.
And so this is what we do before we Sundance. That's another one of our seven sacred ceremonies.
Okay.
And so it's a 4-day, it's, yeah, okay, sorry. It's a 4-day ceremony that we fast from food and water for the most part
Yeah.
during the ceremony. And there's different ways of where people can go and have their Hamdecha, their vision quest. The way that I did it was to go up on a hill.
Mm.
And so I was up on a hill within a reserved space, a ceremonial space that was reserved for that. And I stayed in that spot for 4 days
Okay.
and nights up on a hill, no food and water. And
Mm.
so the reason that we're fasting is because it's a form of sacrifice, but it's also, when you look into the scientific aspect of it, our bodies go into a state of it's almost like going into the spirit world,
Yeah.
as we say, but it's also, when you look at it in another, it's you're kind of dying, you're letting go of your connection to the body,
Yeah.
and you're opening yourself up to more be in a state of astral travel while you're still here, while you're not asleep, while you're not dreaming.
And reactivating your cells and healing your body
Yes.
on the cellular level. Yeah.
Yes. And so that's why we fast, by the way.
Yeah.
And so on the third night, of my Hamdecha, I closed my eyes and I saw standing before me. And I knew who this was because before I went up for my Hamdecha, we had the Yanipi, which is the sweat lodge,
Okay.
and my Nacha, or the spiritual leader who poured the water, he
Okay.
said, "Hey, Steph, did you hear that?" And no, I didn't, because I'm not fully aware of everything. No, I can't see the way that you do. So I'm kind of jealous of it, but no, I missed it. And so, yeah, he said there was my grandfather came in spirit form, and came
Mm.
into the lodge and blew a whistle in my face.
Wow.
And so he said that my grandfather came and introduced himself to the people in the lodge, and he said, "That's my granddaughter," and that's my granddaughter. And so he said that he was going to come and visit me up on the hill.
Mm.
And so that was the message that I got before I went up there. So on the third night, I closed my eyes and I saw my grandfather standing in front of me.
Wow.
And he was dressed with if you look up a dog soldier bonnet,
Mm.
that's what he was wearing on his head. And it's a black and white feathers headdress, black and white all around the head. And turkey feathers, I do believe that they are turkey feathers, but
Okay.
they're dyed black and white.
Okay.
And he had half of his face was painted black and the other half was painted white.
Wow.
And he had stripes down one side and the other side had dots all over it. And his whole body was painted like that. And then I saw that he was wearing a robe. Um, and the robe that we call, it's just like it's like a skirt for a man.
Okay.
I don't know how to do, but they're robes. That's a
Yeah.
buffalo robe.
Okay.
And it was made out of buffalo skin. I could see the fur all around it.
Mm.
And so
That sounds
and
awesome.
and he had a whistle in his mouth and his eyes were glowing. And so it's really important to note that my Nacha, the spiritual leader, did not tell me what he looked like. Okay. But when I
Mm.
closed my eyes and I saw him, and he stretched his hand out to me and he said, "If you want to, you can come home now."
Oh.
And to me, I started crying immediately, because do you know how many times I have prayed to go back home
I
because
know.
of the things that I've had to endure here?
I can only imagine.
Over and over and over.
Mm.
I have had my heart broken. I've been betrayed. I've been dragged through the mud so many times. I've lost my children. I've had the most incredible heartbreaks here on. So when I saw him
Yeah.
and he said that to me, "You can come home now if you want, granddaughter." And I cried,
Yeah.
and I really, really thought about that hard.
Mm.
And I said, "I have to stay.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay," because I kept seeing my son.
Yes. And
And
it's not
yeah,
done. Your work is
it's
not
not done. I have to stay.
done.
And I want to come home, but I have to stay. And so he said, "Okay. And I will be with you, walking next to you for the rest of your life, helping you."
Yeah. Mm.
And there's a lot more to that story, but I'm not going to share that.
That's okay.
It's actually in my book, by the
Okay.
way.
Oh, definitely. And everybody go
But
get the book. Say the name of the book again, because this
it's
is
it's called Thunderbird Rising.
Thunderbird Rising. I love that. But I got to ask you, were you going in and out of consciousness, or did you kind of fall into like an astral travel dream state?
Because I had been fasting already for 3 days,
Yeah.
I was what we say is that we go into the spirit world.
Yes.
And so I was in the spirit world without having to be in and out of consciousness,
Okay.
or without having to be asleep.
Yeah.
And so all I had to do was close my eyes and I could see him standing there
Wow.
in front of me.
And a little astrology humor, you guys. Truth be told, that's a lot easier for Stephanie being a Pisces than most of us. Right, Stephanie?
Yeah, but I mean, I can't speak for the rest of you, but, like, I don't know, the amount the visions that I have, the
Well,
dreams that I
the
have
reason why
are
I'm joking, but I'm
mhm.
also not, right? Because, and I'll say this, living with and being married to a Pisces and then having a younger cousin who's a Pisces and more like a sister, it's almost like your daily life is an experience and a parade between both realms. You are in the physical and you're in the spiritual. And I think within a 24-hour period, Pisces, more than any other sign, and this could be sun, moon, or rising, they kind of go between both worlds. And so, yeah, I do mean that for all Pisces, but I'm sure for you it could be tenfold. But that is an experience that a lot of Pisces would be, if they're being honest, will share. And I see it. I experience it every day with my wife. So yeah, that's so powerful. So now I want to circle back because you jarred my memory with it, and I didn't want to forget the seven traditions that you do. Are they done at different times, or can the seven ceremonies be done at the same time, or in like in one 24-hour or one ceremonial period?
No, they are done at different
Okay,
times,
that's
and some of them, like, um, that's, like, the Hamdecha that I was just sharing
yeah,
about, which and I wanna say to the chat because I see someone was asking where to get my book.
yeah,
I want to really stress that I wasn't trying to sell my book there. I just there were some things I'm not comfortable sharing
yeah. Oh
online,
no, yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
I really just wanna say that that's why I said you have to read the book if you wanna to hear the
No,
rest
no,
of that part of
definitely,
the
definitely.
story.
Yeah, she's
But
just speaking from her
so
heart, you guys.
yeah.
Yes.
So, and nobody's accused me of that. I just wanted to say
No,
that.
no,
And,
no, I know.
but I,
But where can
the
they get it? I
Hamdetcha
want
that
to.
I
I want to
was
know, where can we get it at?
there's a link on my website.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
but yeah, there is so I was sharing about the Hamdetcha with the
Okay.
Vision Quest.
Yes.
And that is there's different reasons why you can be going to do that. The
Okay.
reason I was doing it was so that I would know that I was what I was dancing for the upcoming Sundance. And
Mm,
so the Sundance is our New Year ceremony. It's a 4-day ceremony that's held in the springtime,
is your
summertime.
new year around
Yes.
equinox? Yes.
It doesn't have to be exactly around those times, but it's generally like that's what it's celebrating. And it's a preparation for our year and how we are going to walk in life.
Yes.
So you definitely aren't going to be doing that at the same time as all the other seven ceremonies. But however, Inipi is usually held twice a day. I mean, I can't speak for other Sundances and how they do things. I
Right.
can only speak for the one that I was at, which we would have the Inipi, the sweat lodge, the purification ceremony,
Uh-huh.
for the 4 days before that. And then during, so every morning we would go in there. Whenever we came out of the arbor, we would go in. And sometimes in the middle of the day, if you needed some healing or doctoring, you would go into the Inipi. And so there are some ceremonies that do work together.
Okay.
But then other ceremonies definitely do not. And are reserved and held at their own time and space.
Are some of them seasonal, Stephanie? Some of the ceremonies?
Yeah. So Sundance would definitely be.
Okay.
Yeah, once a year in the spring or summertime, whenever the leader decides to have it,
Okay.
the leadership decides to have it. Yeah, so that would be a seasonal example
Okay.
of ceremony.
So I'm fascinated to ask you, do you personally or does your tribe use or connect with in any way? Because I know you're very connected to nature, but do you use or connect with any particular or just crystals in general?
That's a great question because I would really love to see what our ancestors used before
Yeah.
our ceremonies were outlawed and
Mm.
before there was
Or the
intentional
genocide and
disconnection.
yeah.
Yes, because I can't say that today I see that a lot.
Okay.
However, I understand the power of crystals
Yeah.
and that, there's even, I can't remember the exact term for it, but you can rub crystals together and they create light,
Yes.
energy, electricity. I don't see how that isn't something that our ancestors wouldn't have knowledge of and use to some form. And that there's even crystals that exist within our own bodies,
Of course. Oh, yeah.
right?
Even in the pineal gland and the third eye. Yeah. Oh, definitely. That's so beautiful. So, can I ask you, do you, in your daily spiritual life or in your own spiritual journey and walk, do you meditate? Do you have traditional tribal things for you to connect to creator source? Do you do yoga, different things? Like share with the audience how you connect to spirit or build up your spiritual man inside of Stephanie.
I dance is one of my forms of connecting,
Yeah.
of course. Singing, creation in and of itself when I'm tattooing is
Yes.
a form of connecting. Anytime I'm creating anything at all,
Yeah.
that's a meditation in and of itself. And so I like to speak to those who are like me, who might have a hard time quieting the mind when
Mm,
you think of meditation like you have to sit down and focus. Oh, that is so hard for me to do. So the way that I meditate is through movement.
yes.
And there are movements that you can do where you can focus your mind, where you can quiet your mind, and then you can connect in that way to your higher energy source. And so, yes, I do that, and I believe in somatic movement as well, which yoga is a form of somatic movement. So I've had so much trauma stored within my body from my childhood and some of the things that I've been through in my adulthood, that the only way that I could really release those things was through somatic movement, which is somatic movement focuses more on the feelings that are coming up as you're moving
Yeah.
through stretching, for example, yoga, etc., through the breathing that comes up, and then working through those emotions from a safe space so that you can heal and let them go and release. And so, yeah, I really like to, I used to do intense exercise, boot camp style, marine style, beating myself up type of training, physical. I don't do that as much at all
That's all right.
anymore.
That's good.
And it's because I'm coming into a time where I'm being, because I've done so much healing, I'm being pushed and taught how to rest and
Mm,
relax and to honor my body's need to
yes.
rest.
But I would say, as a collective, energetically, right now, we actually, not just because it's winter in the northern hemisphere, but spiritually, in terms of all that's going on the planet, we actually do need a little bit more rest. So I advise everybody to kind of take heed to that. Yes, we need to stretch, and we do need some time for the meditation, yoga, walking, hiking, connecting, grounding, earthing in nature, but we need to get our proper rest. Don't try to be like this hero, workaholic, 6 hours sleep. No, that's not going to
You mean
serve
like
you.
me?
Yes. Well, but okay, but let's have a little laughter. We've been pretty serious, but I like when you laugh, right? Let's keep it real. We know as Capricorn moons, we could be like Rihanna all day, right? Work, 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 work. We could
Work,
like
work, work,
Capricorn
work.
moon. Work is like food for
Everything.
Capricorn moon.
It's
Okay.
an addiction.
Yes. It's so it's so good to hear you say that because it's
Mhm,
telling me that you're evolving and maturing with your Capricorn moon
mhm.
because you guys, whether it's a Cap or an Aquarius moon or just any human, we do need more rest. It's a little bit more
Yeah.
challenging for Capricorn moons, but it's just so important. And I'm so glad that you said that, my friend. And that is so powerful. So before we wind down and wrap up, why don't we go back to the chat? I think
Yep.
there's probably some more questions for you.
Yeah, here's one that I see. Lazy or lazy. I'm sorry. I hope I'm saying that right.
Huh?
She asked, "Do you ever enter the spirit world while riding your horses?" And so,
Ooh,
that's a great question. And the horse connection is so important to
yeah.
me and
I
to my
love horses.
culture.
Ah,
Yes, and to so as Lakota, as Dakota, we are horse people. We are a horse culture. And so there is a common misconception that horses were introduced in the 1500s to our lands, our homelands, to our cultures. What people don't, and this is now being discovered in anthropology and through these science-based fact things that the evidence that they find that horses originated in the Americas. And then they populated the rest of the world.
that's
And
right.
so there was time that horses almost became extinct here. And so then they really did well in other countries, but then they made their way back here, when the Spaniards came, and that was the introduction in the 1500s that most people are familiar with.
Right.
But there's a lot of missing parts of that story.
Yeah.
There are creation stories with our horses that we say that we came up out of the earth together as Lakota and Dakota people and
I love
Nakota
that.
people. That's how connected we are to our horses. So we are like half of a whole without our horses. This is how close we were. And so we viewed our horses as relatives, as
Mm,
teachers, as our healers. And now there's science coming out and saying when you are on your horse,
yeah.
they regulate your heartbeat.
I,
They can connect to your nervous system and heal you.
yeah.
And so, to circle back to that question, do I ever enter into the spirit world when I'm riding my horse? And I have had some of the most profound experiences while I'm on the back of a horse.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily entering the spirit world, but I'm entering into that connection, that sacred connection and relationship that we have with our horses.
Yeah. That bond. Yeah.
Yes. And so, I have a lot of trauma. I have a lot of these things. I was not therapy with another person. What do you call those? Going to meet with a shrink.
Psychologist, psychiatrist. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
did not work for me.
No, you needed it with nature and the
I
horses.
needed
Yeah.
the horses. So
Yes.
the horses were my therapy, and they know our spirits. They can read our energy. They know our hearts.
Yeah.
So they know what we need. And so the last horse that I was on, she would just run, and she was fast as a speeding bullet. She would just run, and my hair was flying back.
I love that.
I
Yeah.
had to really just let go, and really be in balance and a flow with her,
Yeah.
which was what my system needed because I was stuck in that fight or flight. I was stuck
Oh,
in that survival mode,
yeah.
and she took me out of it.
That's
So,
so beautiful. See, and
mm,
I thank you for that question, number one, but I know exactly what you speak of. Not only did I grow up riding horses and every summer, and I actually got two first place ribbons in horse competitions when I was like 9 and 10 or 9 and 11, but also after my NDE, a few months after coming home, and I was in coma for 40 days, Steph, and in the hospital for 85 days, I had to relearn how to do everything: swallow,
mm,
walk, talk, everything. My wife had booked a little trip with myself, my mother-in-law, and my three sons to go ride horses. Truth be told, I was scared to death, Stephanie, because I was like, I don't even know if I could. I didn't know if I had the strength to even climb up and get
mhm,
back on a horse. It had been years. I did, and it was the most healing, beautiful experience. And I felt like I was coming back home to myself and my family. And it was a beautiful transition, kind of coming back to life after being on the other side and almost, dying. So I know what you
Wow.
speak of with
Welcome
the
back.
horses. Yeah. Thank you, my friend. Okay, so let's see a couple more comments. That was a great question. That was
Yeah, that really was. Also, Lizzie, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong again, but she says, yes, same connection every time I'm on or around horses, the water or mountains. And
yeah.
so, yes, there's like we said earlier, connecting to nature is
Oh,
incredibly therapeutic,
yeah.
and nature will rebalance us. It will reset our nervous system.
Always.
And so, even if you can't get on a horse, at least if you can go be around him,
Yeah,
and even just being around a horse is healing.
definitely.
So, yep, horse therapy, Venus. um, okay. Let me see if there's anything else I can quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that, Alana. She says cats purring has been shown to regulate our nervous system and blood pressure too. That's right. Animals are so powerful.
Oh, yeah. And cats, they can see our auras and spirits.
Mhm.
Dogs are more about the unconditional love, but
Mm.
cats are spiritual protectors. So yeah, I mean, listen, we know this, right? We have to remember this, but like you said, kind of for you and your tribe, right, that you felt that you were relatives with the horses, but a lot of these animals have been around for, centuries and are very sacred to us as humans. So there is a lot of regulation, but a lot of intuitive and spiritual connections. So I think that's really beautiful. Okay, so as we get ready to wind down, I want you to share your information again, and I just want to ask you, um, in terms of your tattoo work, do you have different styles that you do? Do you customize for your clients and their desires? And do you are there people in your tribe or other tribes that are now, because of what you've done and your statement, are they wanting similar or their own versions of what you did in terms of your face tattoos?
Yes, I've had many people reach out from, Lakota, Dakota, women, especially who want to get their markings, to get their chin done, to get their eyes done.
That's
There was an elder that I was supposed to do her markings for her, and she is actually the elder who shared. She was the first elder who confirmed with me very strongly about our tattoo history from the Lakota and Dakota side.
wow.
And she's passed on into the spirit world now.
Okay.
Um, Her name was LaDonna Allard, and she was at one point the historian for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, and they're both Lakota and Dakota over there. But she was sharing. She wanted to get her eye markings done, which in the style she wanted was there's two lines that will go from the corner of the eye here and this part up, and so these markings within our culture can represent someone who, for example, has completed their Sundance commitment,
Okay.
is a pipe keeper, or something along those lines. There were dots that could be on the forehead here that would signify, or an honor marking on the forehead that could signify a woman's position, or
Mm.
her affiliation, or her belonging to, let's say, a women's warrior society, things
Oh,
like that. And on the chin would tell our stories, honor our connection to the earth. And so I have done markings like that. And when I do my tattoos at this point, and I wasn't always doing this, it was definitely a learning journey for me because I really didn't have anyone to teach me. There's a lot of things. I did have a teacher who showed me the ropes, but a lot of what I know now is from things that I learned along the way. And so now, and one of the most important of those being how to channel designs that are meant specifically for the person who is coming to me to tell their story.
Wow.
Or, and they can be multifaceted, but they can also help them heal. They can help them connect with their ancestors, or, with their helpers. They can acknowledge what they achieved. And when you're tracing this back to traditional customs of how it was practiced before it was attacked and almost exterminated,
Yeah.
this was what tattoos were for. They told our stories.
Yeah.
So back in the day, you could look at someone and you would know perhaps even their name.
Or their journey, their
You
history.
would know
Yeah.
their journey. You would know what tribe they were from, what nation they were from. You would know how much they had accomplished. You would know their position in the tribe. For a woman, you could know if she was married or not married. You could know if she was ready to be married or not.
Wow.
So it was telling our stories and sending a message.
I love
And
it.
so that's what I do now. And yes, I use modern tools, but I use the ancestral technique.
Mm, that- that's awesome. I love
Oh, so Alana says, can a non-native person get a traditional tattoo without it being appropriation? Yes, I work with all people. And
Okay.
but it's the designs that I differentiate
Okay.
for different people.
Yes.
So I wouldn't, I don't feel right giving someone who's not Lakota or Dakota our symbols.
Right,
I
right. No,
just don't feel right
that would
doing that.
be inappropriate, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so but I can't say I'm only speaking for what I'm comfortable with as an artist, because I can see people going, you could go down to, like, let's say a Kanaka Maoli artist, a Hawaiian artist, traditional tattoo artist, and you will get, symbols that are, Hawaiian, but it's what they're able to share.
Okay.
So I really do want to speak on that too. If you want to have a cultural sort of looking, or like a tribal design, make sure you go to someone who is of that, who can determine what
Yes.
is okay for you to have and what is not okay.
That is
Because
great
cultural
advice.
appropriation is a big deal.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be carrying something that doesn't belong to you, or that wasn't gifted to you
Yes.
from someone who is of that nation or that people.
You want to stay in the honoring and the remembrance of the respect, and the spirituality of it. Yeah. So you don't, you're right. You want to connect to someone in that tribe and have really a permission and
Yes.
understanding and honoring. Yeah. That's
Permission is so important. Aurora says that Cherokee elders literally say our word for tattoos means my name as it is written. Thank you for sharing that. That's so important. My name as it is written. And that's like, it's our identity. When
wow.
you look at me
Yeah.
and you see my markings, there's nothing hidden. I'm an open book.
Yeah.
You can see who I am through my markings. So
Uh,
thank you for sharing that, Aurora.
That's beautiful, Aurora. Thank you. I love this, you guys. Everybody in the chat, make sure you're hitting the like button. And once we are done in a few minutes, please come back and comment. It helps the show grow in algorithms. But I want you to share this. I want people to hear Stephanie's story and all that we've shared tonight, because it's so important and so beautiful. So, in closing, Stephanie, I almost forgot, but we had talked about this prior to the show, and it's very important for the audience to hear. Sort of a two-prong, right? So you had mentioned, for yourself about being half, traditional tribal Dakota Lakota, and then being half of European descent, and sort of tying that and how it may or may not be received well in certain spaces within your own tribe. So I want to do that first. And then secondly, we had mentioned and spoken about, and I think this is really important for the audience, since we have someone like Aurora here talking about the Cherokee, about the division of the oppressors, right? And the genocide, dividing the different tribes from Hopi Navajo, Dakota, Lakota, Blackfoot, Cherokee, so on and so on. There's so many different tribes. And what do you think, or where do you think the tribes are? And do you think there's hope sort of in this new earth that there can be more of a unification for all the indigenous tribes here in the Americas? So maybe you talk about you personally first and then the tribes.
Okay. And I do want to just shout out to Kat Marie in the comments. She says that Londana was her grandma's relation in her Lakota bloodlines in Canada. So that's
Oh, that's
awesome.
beautiful.
Got a relative to one of my mentors here.
Wow.
And so,
Well, thank you
um,
for coming. Thank you.
yes, thank you.
That's all.
So yes, I do want to say that has been something that was in my life a huge source of conflict was for me, which
Okay.
was being mixed
Yeah.
indigenous, mixed, um, not being enough of one or the other to ever fit in,
Mm,
ever. And so that in and of itself is a huge teaching. I know a lot of us are mixed.
yeah.
It's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when the people mix. Like, you're gonna have mixed people. And I am one of those people.
Yeah.
And my parents met and they loved each other, and they made me and my brother and my little sister. I'm a twin, by the way.
Oh, wow.
But I had a lot of conflict with that growing up, because there was, in my family environment, there was a lot of racism, because
Mm,
I was taken away from my native side of the family at 3 years old,
ah,
and then I was raised with my step family, and my step family was white European, and they were extremely racist.
I'm so
And so, I grew up with the rhetoric that my native side of the family was, and this is exactly what I was told, is that
yeah.
they were no good for nothing drunks.
That's terrible. Ugh,
So I felt like the horrible way that I got treated when I was growing up had something to do with that.
yeah.
And so I really, really had a lot of self-hatred because of that. I did not want to be native at all.
Mm,
And I expressed those features phonetic or phonetically. I expressed those features,
yeah.
so I stuck out like a sore thumb. And I always wished growing up that I was all fully white. I really
Um,
did.
yeah.
And so
It
this
happens in every, black, you have it with
yeah.
biracial, black, white. You could see it all over, and I'm very sorry. Yeah.
So learning to accept myself fully has been a very long and difficult journey, because then on the other end, and the only, because of how I was raised,
Mhm.
there was no person in this world who could have come to me and opened me up to me exploring that side of my blood, of my own DNA. That's
Wow.
how closed off I was to it.
Wow.
And this is once again relating to what you were expressing in my Pisces connection and the dreams.
Yeah.
So I had this dream when I was probably 19 years old.
Mm,
And I finally got away from my stepdad. I finally started to be able to have my own thoughts,
mm,
expressing my own, being able to explore this world without having a prison guard,
yeah.
controlling everything that I did, thought, spoke, etc. And so this dream, I saw one of my relatives, and I knew that he was my relative. I could just feel it.
Yeah.
And he had the bonnet on. He had buckskin regalia. He was one of the old ones,
Yeah.
So he came up to me and he smiled at me, and his energy was so good. And you have to understand that when I grew up, there was nobody who loved me
Oh,
truly, and nobody who actually gave me affection that was appropriate.
mm,
So when my relative came in that dream, and he smiled at me, and he walked up to me, and he hugged me in the way that a grandfather would hug a granddaughter that he loves, that he wants to protect.
Yeah.
When he did that to me, and this was a recurring dream for a little while,
Wow.
I said, I need to find out about who I am
Yeah.
on that side.
That's so
And
beautiful.
so then that journey began, and it was tumultuous. It was eye-opening. It was riveting. But, I learned, and then I flipped to the other side where I didn't wanna be white at all, I
Yeah.
didn't wanna have any of my European ancestry, and I hated that side of myself, and well,
Yeah.
over time, I have learned to balance it out and accept that I am who I am. I'm
Yeah.
perfectly who I'm supposed to be,
That's right.
exactly created to be Stephanie Big Eagle, exactly who I am right now in this moment, and honor all the parts of my ancestry. Because when our people first came together, there wasn't supposed to be all this separation.
Yeah.
Okay, there were treaties that were made, there were agreements that were made between nations that we were to walk side by side in balance, in harmony, in unity, learning from each other, sharing from each other, being relatives, right?
Mm. Yes.
So I've had to learn that within my own being, within my own DNA. And
Yeah.
I'm finally there. Like, nobody can shake me on either side now because I've
That's
experienced the
good.
racism on both sides. I wasn't Indian enough. I wasn't Native enough. I was a half breed. I was all these things. And on that side, I
Oh,
should just be quiet. Then the other side, oh, you're Indian. Just all of the
yeah.
from both sides trying to tell me who I am and how I should behave, and that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worth anything.
Uh,
And so I had to understand that I am worthy. I am a divine being.
yeah.
I deserve love. I deserve to speak from my heart, no matter the percentage of my blood.
That's right.
So and
That's so
relating that
beautiful,
to
Stephanie. I just got to say, and also that was you walking in to your Libra rising,
Hmm.
finding that balance, the
Yeah.
harmony and peace. The first house, that is the house of self. That is the Libra. That was your journey to understand that. And it's your physical appearance and your outer mask. And you found that peace and harmony. And we are also fortunate and blessed to see it. That is your
Yeah.
aura that shines out so bright now.
That's beautiful. I love that. And Alana says the separation is a tool of control. We must fight against this. That's right. We
Yeah.
must learn to balance the separation. And so this separation that came, and the way I look at it as this is the true alien. This is the true illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Okay. It's an energy of separation that came, and it's a disease.
Yeah.
And it spreads very quickly and very rapidly because the way that they spread it is through fear and through abuse.
Yeah.
And so it's like an infection that spreads very easily, and it's been intergenerational now, an intergenerational infection, separation and disease. And so it came here, and we might be amongst the last people who experienced it, the Indigenous people here,
Yeah.
where it happened in Europe before it happened here, because there are Indigenous Europeans too. There are people there who lived with the land, who had a beautiful culture, a beautiful way of life.
Yeah.
And there are Indigenous Europeans who are revitalizing their traditional ways as well. So this issue between color needs to stop too,
Oh, yeah.
because everybody has a sacred place on this earth. Everybody is meant to be working together, no
Yeah.
matter where you are from. And
Def-
so yes, there is, because we have gone through so much trauma, and I'm a living example of what that causes. I hated aspects of myself. And so when you express that on the outside too, you have a hatred for other people who look different than you, or
yeah.
who have a different culture than you do.
Yeah.
And when you come into balance with yourself and accept all the parts of yourself and go through your healing journey, and then you can start to express that balance on the outside and start to actually work with other people.
Yeah. That
And
self-love is the key. Always
yes,
is. It
yes.
always is.
And so we need to honor everybody's role in all of this. Nobody is better than anybody else. Nobody is above or below anybody. And it's connecting back to all our relations. We all are connected and we all have a divine purpose here that is meant to be fulfilled now. And we are in beautiful but tumultuous times
Yeah.
of
Yes.
prophecy coming to fulfillment. So there's no better time than now to start working against that disease, that infection of separation, first within ourselves,
Yes.
becoming cohesive and coherent within ourselves and taking back control of our minds, our hearts, and the expression of that to the outside world. And then we start to come together and create that unity on the outside and to bring real healing and balance to this earth.
That's so true and so beautiful, my friend. And now the last one, the big one, about all the different tribes. Can there be healing? And what has that disease and that oppression kind of created in the separation with all the different indigenous cultures, beliefs, philosophies, and even connections? And can that be healed, do you think?
I definitely think that it can be healed. And honestly, I do think it's probably going to take a tumultuous
Yeah.
series of unfortunate events to occur that triggers people needing to come together and to work together. And so I do channel as well. I can write and get messages from my helpers. That's
Mhm.
one of my gifts that I've been able to develop over time that connects with being able to create designs, being able to read people's energy
Yeah.
without even having them in front of me. But I get messages in that way too. And just came across one the other day that I had written about a year and a half ago. And I was going through a really crazy spiral again of chaos and confusion. And I said, I can't, I was reeling in pain through the
Mm.
situation that I had gone through. And I couldn't understand because I came in with such a good heart and I felt like I just got spun out once again for the 100,000th time in my life.
Oh, Stephanie,
And so it wasn't just that event that I was reeling from, it was an entire lifetime of it. And so what they said to me was, we need you to learn how to use the spiral of the chaos and the confusion to your advantage.
yes.
Nature knows how to do it. The universe knows how to do it. We need to learn how to use that spiral that is created through all of that, all of the negative energy that's being thrown around right now, how to use that to our advantage and then to spin it the other way to make it start to work for us. And so I really do think that the chaos and confusion that we're going through now is working for us, even though it doesn't feel like that, even though there's a lot
Always.
of darkness and
Always
ugly
for our
things
highest
going
and greatest
on.
good. Yes.
Yes.
You're so right.
Yes, we can utilize that energy. We can learn to transmute it, transform it, and alchemize it into energy that works for us. So the more ugly energy they throw at us, the more we just spin it and make it work for us. And each and every one of us has our own abilities and gifts with doing that we need to tap into. I can't tell you
Oh, yeah.
how to do that for yourself. You have to
Everyone in
figure
this
that out.
chat, everyone listening, yes, each one of us all have beautiful spiritual gifts. And you got to come back home to your heart and your heart chakra and know that you are worthy and you are loved and you are loved. And so, I mean, as you were speaking, I had a vision and I could almost see, right? Like Cherokee, Hopi, Navajo, Seminole, Lakota, like all these Sioux, all these tribes, you know what I mean? Like this unity coming together. And there's so many more. I don't mean to leave any tribes out. And obviously we know, for the African indigenous, more people that were here, the Moorish people, and obviously indigenous people were also of African descent. As you see the pyramids in Mexico and Latin America, there's more pyramids in the Americas than over in Egypt and Africa and whatever. The biggest one I think in the world is in Bosnia. So I just want people to really understand that we have been deceived and lied to so much, you guys. And we've got to kind of come back and come home to selves and to truth. And that's going to come from going within and having that self-love, and then seeing someone that may look a different hue than you, right? Hue man, just different colors, and seeing nothing but love and not vitriol, anger, jealousy, hate, or fear. That's never going to serve you. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for all your wisdom, your grace, your endurance, your strength, your hope, your story. This has been truly amazing. Please, again, share with everyone your social media, your websites, the mentorship, the book, all of it, and maybe a quick little message of hope for the collective.
Okay. You can access most of my social medias through my website, www.stephbigeagle.com. I also have a link tree. It's Steph Big Eagle. So Linktree/Steph Big Eagle, which has everything on there. I am on TikTok at Stephanie Big Eagle. I'm on Instagram at Steph Big Eagle. My Facebook is connected to my Instagram, so you can find it all there. I only have one account. Don't get spammed, you guys. Be careful. And yeah, you can get my book from the link on my website too. And as for, I want to say thank you to everyone who's there in the comments. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Yes.
And final message and thank you again, Eric, for having me. This has been beautiful. But I do want to say that we are coming into very, very challenging times.
Yeah.
And many of us are going to be questioning, why is this happening? What can we do? How can we stand up against this? How can we change this? And many people are feeling hopeless. Many people are feeling lost.
Yeah.
And I want to speak to the signs in the sky, to the prophecies that I shared, the White Buffalo Calf Woman prophecy, and there are many other prophecies as well that speak to these times, to remember and to remind us that we are not alone, which is what those who are doing the oppressing want us to believe.
Yes.
Is that we are alone here and that we will not be able to get out of this, that we are powerless. That's what they are trying to make us believe.
Yeah.
But we are infinitely powerful and we are not alone.
Yeah.
And each and every one of us who goes within and looks within for those answers will find the infinite help that is there for us, the power that we hold, and the healing that is there for us when we just turn within and look for those answers. And if you are part of an Indigenous community or any of these other communities, go to ceremony too.
Yes.
And if you can't go to ceremony, go to nature.
Yes.
Humble yourself and remember that you're not alone, and don't be scared to ask for help, whether it's from other people or whether it's from the unseen world.
Yes.
So I just want to leave you with that. Remember that we are power, we are energy, and we are here in very beautiful times. We are going to see the star beings, the
Yes.
Wichak Bioyati. We are about to see some incredibly beautiful things
Oh,
that
they're here.
Yes.
It's coming
It's
sooner than
time.
later.
It's time. So work on keeping your frequency high,
Yes.
because
Please.
then you're going to be much more ready for what's coming.
Yeah.
And we got this, you guys. We got this.
We definitely got this. And I
Mhm.
say this to my community all the time, and that's why this is called Knowledge is Love, right? We have to keep each other in the know. And we need to tell each other that we love each other, and we need to love ourselves, and say that to yourself every day. And Stephanie, this was so powerful. I thank you, my friend. And you guys, please like, share, subscribe. And once we say goodbye, please come back and just leave a little an appreciation comment, a thank you. And please share it, spread it around so people can hear these beautiful words of wisdom and truth from Stephanie Big Eagle. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
This was truly a pleasure. And don't be a stranger. You're
I
always
won't,
welcome
you
to come
neither.
back. And definitely, maybe we can even, experience some traditional tribal stuff in the spring, that maybe you can share something with us that is more even educational for the collective as well.
Yes, we shall see.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much,
Bye, you
everyone.
guys.
Have a beautiful night.
All right. Bye, everyone. Peace.